Greetings, Tull fans. This is part 2 of How to Play Living in the Past by Jethro Tull on the flute. I am your host, Shrouded Day, and welcome. This one is going to be focusing on the end flute flurry, if you will, at the very end of the song, and it is going to be a bit more difficult than the previous lesson for 2 reasons. Number 1, it goes into the second register. Number 2, it's faster. So you got some fast notes going up and down, and also a little bit of an improvisational, or at least it feels improvisational at the very, very end of the song, leading us in the fade out. So we're going to go into some of that as well. It's not going to be exactly how Ian played it, but that's the beauty of it. You can put your own flair to it, your own style. So we're going to go ahead and start off with an A. That's this note right here, 2 fingers and the thumb. And then it goes up to the A sharp and back down to the A real quick. From there it goes down to the G. And then it goes back up to this. That goes up to a C, and then it just rolls on down to the F. So it starts off here with just this one finger, and then the thumb, and then this finger, and this finger. And then back up to the G is where that little phrase ends. And it's going to sound like this. From there, it goes back down to this, and that's the F. So it's F, E, F, E. And then it goes back down to the first register, which is this one right here. So that's the A sharp into the C. So the whole thing will go like this. Now quick note, I should say, on the second register. It may be difficult for some beginning flute players to get there. It took me a long time to make that sound anywhere close to decent. So don't give up on yourself. Don't get frustrated. It takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of focus, takes a lot of committing to those high notes, and that can be difficult to do for beginners, even intermediates. So give yourself some grace. Trust me, when you hit the breakthrough, it's going to feel really good. So keep working at it if you're struggling with it. If you're classically trained, you probably don't have any issues with that at all. So we're going to go through that one more time. I'm going to do it kind of slowly so you can follow what I'm doing, starting again on the A. That's simple. Now, at the very end, that goes through about 3 or 4 times. Can't quite remember how many times that goes through that one phrase. And at the very end, he goes into what feels like a little bit of an improvisational flurry of fluting. And that's where the tonguing comes in, and that's where the breathiness comes in. And it sounds a little something like this. Kind of like that. Now that's not exact, but it is pretty close to what Ian plays there. And this is also an opportunity for you to put your own spin on it as well. And if you're playing this live with a band, obviously you guys aren't going to fade out. You're going to maybe want to carry that out a little bit. Let the band kind of get into its groove behind you, and you just kind of go nuts and let your improvisational flag fly. Try saying that 5 times fast. And that's how you can do something a little bit like this. Just kind of go nuts, let it lay out, let yourself feel the notes, let yourself get into the scale and get into the groove of that little section there. Let's give it a shot. All right, it's something. If you just let it fly, you practice improvising, finding that groove and sticking with that scale, it becomes so much fun. Trust me, you're going to have a blast. And just lay out and impress people. That was all improvisation, just off the top of my head, but just sticking with those same notes, basically within that scale, so that it fits with the song. You can still do it the same way that Ian did it, just kind of end with the fade out if you want to. I don't know how you would, but you can do that as well. So there you have it. Now, just as a quick note, as a starting note, I'm not going to figure out all the notes in that little phrase there, because that was quite a bit, obviously. But the solo that Ian does at the very end starts off on this note. That's the C. Now, you notice that has a little bit more of a tonguing to it. Previously, the phrase that we learned a couple minutes ago, that felt a little more classical, slightly so, compared to this piece anyway, this little ending part. And this is where the blues kind of breathiness comes in at the very end. And that's why you can kind of let that lay out, do the flutter tonguing, which we'll go over in a separate video as well. Some of the techniques that he uses, the tonguing, the voiceover, the random letters that he will blow into the flute with, like this. All that fun stuff we go over in a separate video. So feel free to follow me on patreon.com/shroudedday, or also click the subscribe button at the end of this video. See, I told you I'd be better at that. And you can follow along and keep up with the latest videos, which should be coming out shortly. I want to go through this whole section one more time just so you see it from beginning to end of that phrase. And so on and so forth. So there you have it. Living in the Past by Jethro Tull.